This is the Loaded Radio Podcast.
It's Scott Penfold, and it is another edition of the Loaded Radio Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from, be it the Loaded Radio app, the website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Great to have you here with us again. This week, I'm going to be talking to Steel Panther guitar player Satchel, as Steel Panther going to be releasing their 6th studio album, On the Prowl. It's going to be arriving February 24th, and the album was produced by Steel Panther and is now available for pre-order in multiple configurations, including CD, cassette, and 2 different color variant vinyl records as well. I love that they're releasing cassettes again. I think it's awesome, and it's always suitable for Steel Panther as well, right? Now, with tunes like Never Too Late to Get Some Pussy Tonight, Sleeping on the Rollaway, On Your Instagram, and One Pump Chump, you're sure to get all the things that you love most about Steel Panther. So tons of gratuitous laughs, but as well some great musicianship as well, with tracks like 1987 on the new album. So we'll be talking to Satchel in just a few minutes, so stick around for that. And as well, I'm going to be talking about, well, I mean, a lot of people getting together, whether it be, at their place or someone else's place, or maybe going out to a bar over the weekend to watch the big game, talking about the Super Bowl, of course. And it's really that time of year where a lot of people, just indulge in just all the best food there is, really. I mean, we're talking, wings, nachos, chili, even more wings, lots of beer, of course, being consumed, a lot of sleepy people on the day after Super Bowl. You'd think that they'd actually make a holiday out of the day after Super Bowl Sunday. There's a lot of tired people, a lot of people who just want to stay in bed and not really show up for work, and understandable too. The halftime show, a lot of people were, of course, really into that, and even a lot of people who don't even like football tuning in just for a lot of the commercials involved with Super Bowl, and as well the halftime show, which featured Rihanna, who, I think did a great performance. The fact that you could still hear her singing when she didn't have the microphone anywhere near her mouth was pretty magical, I gotta say. I mean, that's why she makes the big bucks, I guess. I'm gonna be talking about how you'll never see a metal band play the halftime show at Super Bowl, and why you won't ever see a metal band play the halftime show at Super Bowl. No, I think there was some time briefly where Metallica was considered, but you'll never see a metal band of any sort take that stage. So, but first off, I do want to connect with this guy here. Let's get this going. I want to talk to Satchel. He is the longtime guitar player for the band Steel Panther. They've got the new album called On the Prowl, and man, so far the tracks I've heard off it, just everything you'd expect from Steel Panther, man. Hilarity, but some incredible musicianship as well. The album drops February 24th, and it was self-produced by the guys in Steel Panther. Here he is. He's great to talk to him as always. Satchel from Steel Panther joining us. Satchel, how you doing, man?
What's up, Scott?
Hey, Satch, how you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Good to talk to you again, man. Always a great time.
Awesome, dude. I'm very excited. That's why I've been up all night doing blow.
I'm really happy about the 6th studio album, man, On the Prowl, coming out February 24th. First off, where was the album recorded?
Where it was recorded in many different places during the pandemic. Obviously, we were all locked up like a lot of people. It started basically in my home studio at my mom's house, and where I do a lot of writing, and I would send demos to Styx, our drummer, and he would now I'd ask him what drum parts he would want to put over certain things, and we'd go back and forth with that kind of stuff. And we kind of actually recorded the album backwards a little bit this time, because we didn't really have the money like a lot of bands, because we tour for money. So we just sort of went backwards and recorded the songs, guitar, bass, vocals, and then sort of went into the studio in LA and did drums like sort of towards the end. And then we had our normal producer / mixer, Jay Rustin, mix it when we were all done. But it was a process, because we were also finding a new bass player during that whole period too. So that was a question. Like, are we gonna decide on a bass player before we're actually done with the record, or is Satchel going to be the bass player too? And to be honest with you, I didn't really want to be a bass player, because I get so much attention as it is,
Of course. Well, I mean, I was going to bring up Spider, who I think is such a great addition to the band, but it was a really lengthy process in bringing in Spider. Why was it so long and so exhaustive, and why did you choose him?
Well, it was a long process for one reason. We've been a band for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
A lot of, there are a lot of people that think that we started when we started putting records out. But the truth is we were a band for many, many years before we did a record.
Metal school. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a chemistry the whole time. I mean, we basically used to sell out a lot of shows for years and years and years before we even put out record one. So getting somebody to replace any band member that quit was going to be like, oh God, we got to get the right guy. We got to get somebody that we love to be in a band with and that we want to be in a band with. And we tried a lot of people out, but when we, over the last few years, there were times when Lexi left the band, and every time he left, when he couldn't make a tour or whatever, Spider was the first guy we called, and he always killed it. So we ended up going back and really trying to work it out and see if Spider could do it. And we worked it out. I mean, it was one of those things where we thought this could be great. But it takes a while to find a guy, because we don't want to find somebody and then fire them 2 years from now, or have to find somebody else 2 years from now. And we want to just keep rocking until we die, basically, which is not 2 years from now. It's probably more like 4 years from now. So we want to go all the way to the end with this. And so I think it was worth trying people out. And I'm really glad that we got Spider, because he's a great bass player and he's a really great guy to hang with. And we love the dude.
Well, now, is there still any communication with Lexi Fox at all?
I don't talk to him because, I'm still angry that he quit the band. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. It kind of pissed me off. And I hold grudges for a long time. Like if somebody, spits on my lunch or something, it's going to take me like at least 6 weeks to get over that. Like it takes me a long time to get over shit. But I think Michael still talks to him, because Michael doesn't really care. Like I fucked Michael's girlfriend one time, and he talked to me like about 3 minutes afterwards. It was no big deal.
I know that you haven't spoken with Lexi, but have you checked out his new project, Hollywood Gods and Monsters, at all? What do you think of that?
I listened to it, to be honest with you, and it wasn't my thing, because it's basically just not my thing.
It's a departure from Steel Panther, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not my. I'll just say this: it's not my thing.
Understood.
I love heavy metal. I think most people understand that I love heavy metal, and heavy metal is in my blood. As a matter of fact, I took a shit earlier today, and it was 77% metal. And so I love heavy metal, and that's what I'm in it for. I want to keep rocking, and I love doing the rock, and I also love to write songs, and I love to do original music. And when I see, listen, we did covers before we did original music, but I think the goal for most musicians is to be in a band where they are doing something original, where you're creating something, right? Creating something new, and of course, everybody's got their own view on that. But for me personally, I just like to write songs, and I'm not that into dance music. I like to bang my head.
Yeah. And just looking at the new album, getting back to that, with tracks like, One Pump Chump on your Instagram, 1987, what can fans expect with the new album that they may not expect? Or what can they hear that maybe they didn't hear in a previous Steel Panther album?
Well, I mean, I think with every time we do a record, for me, the goal is to write different songs, right? So I can't write Asian Hooker again, because I wrote it perfect the first time. I mean, we did Asian Hooker, and we did it great. We did Death All But Metal, we did it great. We did If You Really, Really Love Me, and we did it great. I think every record that we have is just a time period of our lives, and we try to write songs that have something to offer. I mean, for me personally, there's songs like Eyes of a Panther, which is not as funny as some of our songs, but it also rocks really hard. It's a really popular song. and then there's certain songs that to me are very, very dirty and very gratuitous, which I think is great because it's real and we love sex and we love talking about sex. Gangbang at the old folks home was a true story.
With Vivian. Yeah, that's a great song, man.
It's a true story about Michael's experience delivering pizza. So, and so we try to write about stuff that we know and always try to approach, the songwriting with a different approach than the way we've approached other songs. There are songs on the new record that I feel are some of our best songs. Like I think On Your Instagram is not just funny, but it's also poignant and poignant social commentary. And a lot of people, heard the new song 1987 and it was very nostalgic. And they were like, oh, I didn't think that Steel Panther was going to bring me to tears. And, of course, when you're in a band, especially when you're in a band like Steel Panther, where, we've got a reputation for being, very gratuitous and very dirty. People are always going to enter into listening to whatever you do, and they're going to have expectations. Oh, I'm going to hear something that's going to be very dirty right now, but we really haven't changed that much. I mean, there's songs on every record, like I said, Eyes of a Panther, If You Really, Really Love Me, The Burden of Being Wonderful. These are all songs that didn't have gratuitous language, but they were also approached very much like Steel Panther would approach it. It's a lot of it's funny. Some of it's will make you, shed a tear and laugh at the same time. And it's not all meant to make you, gag your gag reflex to react or to make you laugh out loud about, a different phrase for the word penis. But it's, I feel like we've always had the same approach. It's let's write it. Let's find a subject matter that seems like it would be cool to write about. And then let's see if we can succeed in writing a song about it. Like the song 1987 has been very, very popular with people of a certain age and up. The younger kids either react one way or the other. They go, I don't get this at all. These boomers are cringy. Or they say, oh my gosh, this song really makes me I wish I could have lived during that time. And I think it was a success either way, because everybody's going to have their own perspective. Whenever you do a record, you just try to write a bunch of songs that you like. And there's going to be some people that have certain favorites and others that have others. And some people that think you should just work at a car wash.
Well, yeah, I think it's really cool that you have Dweezil Zappa on the album playing on the track Is My Dick Enough. How did you get Dweezil involved, man? He's killer.
He is awesome. That solo that he did on that song is completely great. And he's a great guitar player. Actually, he reached out to me because he was doing a podcast about Eddie Van Halen after Eddie passed away. And, I did that with him. And first of all, I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan.
Me too.
If anybody listens to Steel Panther is a Frank Zappa fan, you probably can tell that, the songwriting in Steel Panther has some Zappa influence, right? So
certainly.
But I'm also a Dweezil fan, and Dweezil and I grew up. We're about the same age, so he's a really, and we do the same stuff. He plays guitar, I play guitar, and we were both into Van Halen and all the 80s stuff, and he's a rock guitar player, and we hit it off, and he's a super cool dude, and I'm always looking for guests on our records, and I thought he would be perfect, and it turns out he was, because his solo is one of the coolest solos on the record. It's great.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I can only imagine, man. I can't wait to hear that track. Haven't heard that one yet. Track I have heard, though, which is the leadoff single, Never Too Late to Get Some Pussy Tonight. Killer track, man. And the last time I talked to Michael Starr, Mike always told me that all of your songs usually come from a true experience from someone within the band. Where did that one come from?
We've all been in that situation. Many of us are in that situation every night, right? Where you're out there and it's getting later and you just can't seem to meet a girl, and you're getting more and more drunk as the night goes on.
Right.
And I think that, listen, there are patterns to what we're doing here, but we are an educational band. We're like the heavy metal Wiggles. And So we have an album, or, 2 albums ago, we put out an album called Lower the Bar. And, when it starts to get 3, 4 in the morning, you really do. You have to lower the bar to some degree. But if you lower the bar far enough, you will realize it's never too late to get some pussy tonight. And it just depends on how low the bar is willing to be lowered.
Gotcha. That sort of leads me to the next question then. Do you believe, does 1980s backstage groupie culture still exist? I mean, how many pairs of tits have you actually seen?
That is really, really hard to calculate, because are you talking about live tits? Like live tits right in front of you?
Yeah, but I mean, about the whole like groupie culture, the old, when performing. I mean, I've been to so many Steel Panther shows, and I've seen a lot of tits at those shows. So I can only imagine what you've seen tit-wise. There's
really a lot of tits out there, and they're like snowflakes. They're all very unique, and they're beautiful. But I've probably seen upwards around, I don't know, probably like maybe 6 or 7 million pairs.
I wouldn't doubt it, man. But does that culture still exist, though, backstage that did in the 80s? Or is it calmed down? Is it like a new sort of like a genre when it comes to backstage, at a rock show?
No, it's still there. I mean, and this is the thing. The interesting thing about the day and age that we live in is all the cultures are meeting together right now. And we're basically creating our own, everybody's got their own bubble, right? So you go on your social media, you surround yourself with people that like the same stuff. And it's the same thing at a Steel Panther show. People come because they want to rock. People come because they want to laugh. And the girls that wind up backstage at our shows are the ones that want to perform sex on the entire band at the same time and do it while they're naked and film it.
There's footage out there somewhere then.
Yes.
Of the band running a train. That's phenomenal. I wanted to ask you, do you guys still talk to Corey Taylor at all? Is he plan to collaborate again? I love what you did with him on the Dio cover, man. I love what he did on Death to All But Metal. Is there any communication there still? Any plan?
Well, Corey lives right down the street from me in Vegas. And I talk to Corey every once in a while. And he's a busy man. He's always doing something. And but that possibility is always there. Because we're friends, and Corey's great. And he loves to rock, and we love to rock. So there's probably a really good chance that we will collaborate with him on something at some point. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like every time we do a record, we always think about that. Like, who would we want to have on here? To be honest with you, like, we haven't really had any guest drummers. If I was gonna, like, the next record, there's a good possibility that we'll get a guest drummer. We have Rudy Sarzo on Heavy Metal Rules.
Yeah, Rudy's great.
More than a few guitar players and singers on different records. But yeah, it's always fun to get guys to collaborate with. I wouldn't mind getting a drummer, a different drummer, like maybe Scott Travis or somebody like that.
Do you think Tommy Lee would do it, or does he still hate Steel Panther?
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, there's a lot of speculation on that. We love Motley Crue, and we're always going to love Motley Crue, and we're always going to be fans of them. And Tommy is, honestly, he's a great drummer. He's one of the best rock drummers.
Yes.
But I don't know if Tommy is ready to play on a Steel Panther record. But if he is, we'd love to have him, because he's a great drummer, and it would probably be really cool whatever he does. Because I've never, the guy plays great. He's awesome. He's solid as a rock.
But what was his issue with the band? Did you ever find out what it was?
Well, I don't know. I think Nikki had more of an issue with us than Tommy, or maybe they both did, because they thought we were bagging on Vince. But I think what Michael Starr meant when he said what he said about Vince was, it was just a lighthearted jab at how bitchin' Vince was back in 1983 compared to how he is now. But I'll tell you what, I saw pictures of Vince recently, and he looks really good. He's taking care of himself. So I wish all those guys the best. I like Motley Crue.
And I guess my last question for you is, for somebody who may be, listening to or watching this interview here, somebody who may be from an older generation or a newer generation who wants to get into 80s metal, what are 3 albums you would recommend they check out?
Wow, that's a really, really good question. I mean, there's so many great 80s metal albums, but I mean, just off the top of my head, I will say, I personally would tell them to go get Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden. I love that album. I would say Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, because it's a different flavor. It was, different. But I would also say maybe the first Dio record. That's a great one. It's Dio is such a great singer. Or maybe Def Leppard, Hysteria. That's definitely a different, the other side of the spectrum. That's a great record as well. It's very, very, it's almost overproduced in some ways. Pyromania is one of my favorite Def Leppard records as well. But gosh, there's so many great 80s records, and they're all just chock full of bitchin' songs. So Whitesnake's album from 1987 is a great one as well. So many good records.
Satchel, always a pleasure, my friend. You're an absolutely awesome guy to talk to, and I cannot wait to see some Steel Panther again. Obviously, you guys are going to be hitting the road, right, in the days ahead?
Yes, our tour starts the day the record comes out on February 24th.
Beautiful, man. Satchel, thanks so much again, man, and I will be talking to you, I'm sure, again at some point soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
All the best, man.
You too.
And there he is. That is Satchel. He is the guitar player from Steel Panther. Always love talking to Satch, man. He's hilarious. He's just great. And the new album is called On the Prowl. It arrives February 24th. Man, it's it's everything you'd expect from a Steel Panther album. But hey, my name is Scott Penfold. This is the Loaded Radio Podcast. And of course, a lot of people congregating, whether it be at home or, at someone else's place, maybe going out to the bar, just really getting together for the holiday. I mean, because it essentially has become a holiday. That is Super Bowl Sunday, right? And watching the game, watching the Chiefs come out victorious. And congratulations, of course, to that team. But I do want to talk about the halftime show and looking at everything that is the halftime show at the Super Bowl. You're never going to see a metal band play the halftime show at the Super Bowl. It's never going to happen. I mean, when Maroon 5 headlined the 2018 halftime show, and it caused a huge uproar with a lot of metal fans who were, they were tweeting, they were going on social media asking the NFL when are they going to play some real music, And a lot of people suggesting Metallica would be a great band to take the stage at the Super Bowl. There was even the idea at one point maybe of Metallica arranging a broadcast of a concert from another TV network at the same time as the halftime show or something like that. A lot of stuff was thrown about. But when it comes to an actual heavy metal band, and I'm talking, I'm not just talking about death metal or deathcore or extreme metal. I'm talking about even just any sort of metal band whatsoever playing the halftime show at the Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. Metallica has been a name that's been thrown around, though it's been sort of rumored for many years that, that they might take the stage for the Super Bowl. But James Hetfield, frontman for the band, even at one point commented that he thinks the right time for the band to play the show is probably past. And Metallica doesn't really match the image of a typical halftime show, stressing that, the band really is more about their musical abilities than their variety show act. Metallica's not up there jumping around and dancing. That does not have choreography. They just don't. When really that is a big part of the halftime show at the Super Bowl is the choreography. I mean, it is a big thing, man. It's not just somebody up there singing or performing. It's a show. It's a full-on performance. Now, that being said, a lot of rock bands have played the halftime show at Super Bowl, like ZZ Top, Aerosmith as well, and they've done phenomenal jobs. But when it comes to a band that brings the heaviness, like, for example, let's start extreme here. You're never, ever going to see Cannibal Corpse or Dying Fetus play the half. Come on, it just even sounds silly just saying it, right? Because just the amount of, could you just imagine the amount of utter disgust? The controversy that would cause, just the blemish that would cause to the NFL if they ever brought a death metal band, even to come in and just even if they were doing the world of music or something like that and had someone from different genres of music and they had death metal represented. Could you imagine just the utter disgust that would just come through from that, man? Oh, that would, it'd actually be hilarious, but it's also be kind of terrifying, man, especially with people's access to social media these days. It would cause an uproar. That being said, though, I think Metallica would do a great job if they did the halftime show. Even if they did it with a special guest, if you have to, throw that sort of life preserver in there, it's like Metallica with I don't know, Billie Eilish or something like that, you know? Like that could work. Or Miley Cyrus even. You know, she's shown that she really is a big fan of rock and she digs metal and stuff like that, which is cool. Even if you, like a band like The Pretty Reckless featuring Taylor Momsen, I don't think they'd even be asked. You know, of course, we're talking about the Super Bowl here. This is a huge, massive stage. They're looking for the biggest acts in the world to play this. You're not going to get a band like Anthrax playing at the Super Bowl. I mean, not that Anthrax isn't big, but, you know, they're not one of the biggest acts in the world right now, but they're Anthrax and they're awesome. And would it be cool? Sure, it'd be great to see Anthrax do that show, but it's unlikely. Even if they did like a big 4 performance, which would be so cool, right? If you think about that, obviously Slayer would not be a part of that as Slayer is no more, but get another band to step into that role like Exodus or Testament and do like a big 4 performance for the Super Bowl, that'll never happen. No, because it's metal. The purpose of these performances is really to create an attraction to the whole event, you know, beyond just watching a football game. You know, it's really supposed to be more like what is be in pop culture. And metal has always sort of been like the anti-pop culture. At least it has been, at least since I'd say the early 90s. In the 80s, it kind of was the mainstream thing. But yeah, these days, you're not really going to see metal represented when it comes to anything pop culture by any stretch of the imagination. There was even a petition at one point with like 64,000 signatures that was sent to the NFL to give Metallica the chance to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. It's a lot of people, but I mean, it's not really going to do anything, man. 64,000 in the grand scope of things when it comes to the Super Bowl as an event, it's really nothing. It's not even a dent. So for the foreseeable future, we're not going to be seeing any metal bands taking that stage. Again, it might be a good thing though, because I mean, for metal to go pop or mainstream enough that they would consider bringing an act even like Metallica or Trivium or In Flames or a multi-band performance to take that stage, it's just not going to happen. Rock and metal is not on top anymore. It's just something that, you know, we have to accept. And it's kind of an okay thing because rock and metal really wasn't meant to always be the most popular thing in the world. It wasn't meant to be that music that everybody consumed, right? But that's what makes it kind of cool. Mind you, that being said, all those points being said, I think Slipknot would do a fantastic job of doing this, the halftime show at Super Bowl. Could you imagine Slipknot? Hey, you want performance with your music? Well, there you go. There's the band that'll bring it. Don't forget to check out loadedradio.com for all your hard rock and metal news, constantly updated there for you as well. And the Loaded Radio, the app, it is free, okay, where you can get all that info right there to your device, including the 24-hour radio station, past podcasts, and so much more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again next week for an all-new edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. I'm Scott Penfold, and we'll talk to you then.
Loaded Radio.